Okay, let's call Jason
Okay.
Marshall.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
You guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you very well. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. What's going on, Jason Marshall?
Shit.
Sorry, I was a little late there. I had to run to the facilities really quick. I drank a lot of coffee this morning, so.
Oh, that's fine. We were just talking about peeing, actually.
It's always good.
Yeah. Good pee talk.
Peeing is always good.
Lose some weight.
Yep. So,
Definite.
yeah, Joey's with us.
Yeah, I have a bunch. I'm really excited for this one because I didn't realize when I was going back through all the Jason Marshall sections, pretty much you're a very quiet influence over skating. You're not mentioned enough, but there's a lot of shit that you did, especially, like, did you do the first heel roll on tape? Yeah, as far as I know in Kamloops, that was the first heel roll that we saw.
Yeah, that's. I think that was in VG4 in the San Francisco section. It was down the Kink Ledge at Embarcadero. As far as I know, I mean, me, Eric Burke, and Robin Collins, we were always talking about it, and we were always trying to find the right way to do it to make it actually look somewhat decent. And, you know, at the time, nobody was doing it. I mean, everybody kind of talked about it. We saw dancers kind of doing the two, like the heel and the toe roll. And what it was for me is I was skating in Embarcadero, and on that ledge I saw professional skateboarder Mike Carroll basically roll it. And then he went up and he manualed it, and I was like, wow, that looks really good. I'm going to try that. And so I was just messing around, and that day that we filmed that for VG4, I was just messing around. And so as far as I know, that was the first one on film. That may have been the first one of that length. But shortly after that, we really got into it, and we were doing them fakie and, you know, just kind of trying to tweak it and make it look good. And it's something that never really took off that we just like to play around with. So,
Well, I just remember that one. It's quite a timeless heel roll because it was so fast and it looked so good. Do you remember that heel roll, Todd?
I do. It was amazing. Yeah, it was just so fast. That was like probably one of the best, like just straight up heel rolls ever in a video.
Yeah, I
Like it just
still
looked
think.
so good. The filming and the pants. You had really good pants.
Oh shit! It was to that Sublime song.
Damn.
Can I just go ahead and ask a question, Todd?
Oh, Joey, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh shit! That made me think of the music always in your sections. Did you choose? Because just off the top of my head, the Gangstar song in VG4, Souls of Mischief in FOR, and the DJ Shadow song in Transcend. You always had like really classic songs. Is that what you listened to at that time, or did you work with the video producer, or was that just a fluke?
that's, you know what, it's half fluke and half planned. I mean, that's kind of one of the funniest things about me and rollerblading is the only one that was actually chosen was 93 to Infinity. And it was because Dave Payne made a funny comment. He told me, you know what, you have such a hip-hop style, because he was asking me for VG4 what kind of music I liked. And, you know, I liked heavy metal and I liked punk. But I had this, what he called an Embarcadero hip-hop style. And so a lot of these songs that were chosen for me, it was basically looking at what song would mesh good with the type of style and skating that I did. And so, you know, what's funny is you look at my iPod and the music that I listen to, and I have a ton of hip hop, but there's a lot of punk and a lot of heavy metal on there too. So it was almost like this planned integration of music into my skating to make it what it was. But I'm very happy with it. I mean, I listen to hip hop every day still. Just the other day, Kato gave me a remix of the Far Side and Tribe Called Quest.
Oh shit!
So, yeah, there's still an influence in my life, but I mean, I'm probably more of like a punk heavy metal guy, to be honest with you.
Wow, because you look back on your skating and it was definitely like a smooth. People had kind of like a quote unquote hip hop style, but yours was so unique. Like when you imagine your skating back in Transcend, it was always very smooth, not a lot of arm waving. Your safety grabs were really good. A lot of people say John Elliott when they say safety grabs, but Todd, remember those safety grabs?
Really nice. Really nice safety grabs. I remember one trick I always remember was in VG4, the Mcleod to fakie. It made me I remember so many times, like, I'd be skating a ledge and I would channel that trick and I would just try to copy it, like just the way you came out, like in like fakie, what is that, in-spin fakie out, just really nonchalantly.
Yeah.
I always loved that trick.
That's kind of funny. Somebody told me that the other day. We were at Woodward West for AIL, and somebody mentioned that little line, and I had to go back and look at it because it's been so long that I've seen anything like that. And it was funny. And looking back at all the skating that we did back then at EMB, there's a lot of stuff that other people did too that I don't want to say they didn't get credit for, but there's a lot of stuff that was subtly overlooked, like those really small details. The spins in and spins out that it was almost bred at Embarcadero, some of these things. And so it's really interesting to see. We were watching some of the Broskow stuff the other day, and it was really cool because you kind of see some of that stuff that maybe Rob G did or maybe Eric Burke did back in the day, but they put this whole new twist on it and just make it look so much better. But it's really cool to see like the evolution of what happened at some of these locations early on in rollerblading and seeing where they are now. It's mind-boggling, but it's really cool.
Definitely. That Fish Guys 2 edit, is that what you were talking about a little bit? Or have you seen that edit?
We watched that over and over last night. It's amazing.
I really get the feel of some of those, what you were saying, some of those style influences, but taken to a new level in that edit. It's cool that skating's come full circle that way.
Definitely.
I think me and Mason went through this phase where we would only watch old school videos, like to get excited before skating, and we wouldn't watch anything modern. I remember skating being really fun because of it, because like you would get into that kind of old school perception of things, and it was easy to channel joy in like really simple things.
Yeah, when out
something
filming
about those old videos.
Remember we would reference once in a while, like someone, you wouldn't be able to really get a trick and be like, okay, just do this line like you're in One Nation. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. That was the one section actually that I'm pretty sure all of your shit is online, except I couldn't find One Nation online.
You know what? I have a box of DVDs I was gonna rip and put them online. I'll see if I have that one in there because I tried to search for some of my stuff just to show my wife because she didn't realize I did all these things and it was in videos and magazines, and I lost most of the media that I had, all the Daily Breads and box magazines, and I'll see if I have that one, but to be honest with you, I don't even remember filming for that. I don't remember being in it. I don't remember what took place. It was so long ago.
I think the only thing that I remember that was the highlight trick. I remember the section being good, and it was maybe to like a soul song, but you did, I think, a back torque in K2s on a double rail or something. And
I don't even remember that.
I don't even know how could you do you remember torques being hard in K2s? Nobody could really torque in K2s.
Yeah, and we had this long conversation at Woodward about torques and like where it came from, how it originated, and a lot of it came from crooked grinds and skateboarding and just being at Embarcadero and watching guys like Eric Costin. And what it was one day it was, again, me, Eric Burke, and Robin Collins were talking about it. And the only feasible way to do it on a K2 was to actually tilt it at almost like a 20-degree angle off of a Mcleod. So you would hit the toe cap because that was the hardest piece of plastic on the skate. It was a really soft piece in the middle. If you tried to slide it there, it wasn't going to slide, especially on ledges. So it was almost like a crooked Mcleod.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and it was just to catch that hard piece of plastic. And, I mean, if you look at skates now, it's, when I came back into skating last year, me doing a torque grind was the weirdest thing in the world because it had to get completely sideways on the ledge. And I still wanted to do that angled facing forward, position. And it was just really awkward.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because this is probably the biggest word that I attach to your skating. Well, there's smooth, but backslides Jason Marshall.
Dude, backslid a kink in VG4, Joey.
Oh, shit. And really, really nice backslides. Like, if you want to reference a backslide, that picture of you, it's on your Facebook, actually. That backslide picture on that longer rail, was it in San Jose? It was the same. Matt Andrews was gapping over it on the cover of Daily Bread.
Yeah.
That is such a textbook backslide.
Can you backslide like that in modern skates, though?
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, but the funny thing is, when I first came back into skating, the first pair of skates I got were the rollerblade urban skates, because I figured, I'm too old to grind or do anything. I'm just going to cruise. And then I bought the sole plates for it, and I started doing Mcleods and playing around. Then I got some ground control frames, started doing royales and stuff, and I noticed that like the plastic is so hard and slick that it's really hard to hold on. And so then I went from rollerblade to shadows, and shadows I could kind of do backslides. And I ended up hurting my ankle really bad, so I couldn't do just like a standard backslide. I had to learn switch. And so the last couple of weeks, my ankle's healed, and I started doing backslides again. Now I have the remz, the HR 1.2s. And I can actually do them just like I did back in the day, because that backslide plate, it's a little bit softer. Yeah. And so I can actually hold them again. And so it's been kind of a weird transition of finding the skate that really matches your style and the tricks that you do. And with those new HRs, man, they just hold so well. And with the backslide groove matched up to the frame groove, it just fits. It's perfect.
Definitely.
So for backslides, that's probably the best skate.
Do you skate those cuffless? Did you take the cuffs off of those?
I did, and then I was jumping off stairs just trying to get back into gaps a little bit at the park, and I noticed that I didn't have the ankles to do that anymore. And so I had to cuff back on.
If you were to just roll around and let there's weird ankle muscles that have to build back up, but at least you still got the V cut. And I agree. I've tried other skates and I kind of lose backslides. It's interesting to think of how the technology kind of informs the way tricks are done.
It is, but it's for the better. And the one thing that I wish people would really do, and you're starting to see this resurgence of older guys like myself coming back in, and I think that's chiefly because of Bo putting together the OG reunion, which is probably the single best thing that's happened in the last 5 years. If people would go back to the original makes, I mean, you have like the classic K2s that everybody loved. And for me, if Kato would put out that original version 2 rem, the one that had the really large heel plate, I think that would attract so many of the old guys back into it. Because, I mean, you look at us, most of us are in our 30s, and when we come back, we see all this new stuff, and it freaks us out because we don't know what to purchase, and it's a different sport altogether. But if you have some of these older skates, and I think K2 did a really good job of keeping their classic line, they just added the sole plate onto it, but that might actually help attract more of the older guys back in. But, yeah. I mean, for me, that skate, that version 2 rem skate, that was probably the best skate ever.
Yeah, I don't even like talking about it because I get too worked up. I actually, and I think Kato, does he not like hearing it? Like, did you talk to him about it? I think he gets messages maybe daily from people all around the world about that skate. Because I was the first. He lost money on the pair that he sent to me in Canada, and I got rems because of I kept rewinding your section in Transcend where you had the rems, trying to like figure out how they would feel just based on some of the tricks that were in that video. And to this day, I haven't progressed as much in a skate as I had in those ones. They felt the interlaces and the way that they fit on the foot. I just remember it was the closest thing to shoes with wheels attached to them.
Yeah,
and they looked so sick.
Yeah, they were just they flowed so well. It's like they were made for your foot, and he calls it the freedom of feet, but it's the only skate, I mean, especially at the time, that was made from the ground up, that was made for what we do. And if you look at most of the skates today, I mean, you have these skates that are skins where they're basically, classic boots with a skin over it. And, aside from the shadow, I mean, what else is there that was really made from the ground up like that? And if you look at all the firsts that came from rems, the V-cut, the hybrid skin with the skeleton on the inside, I mean, there's so many firsts with that skate that it basically revolutionized the entire sport, and people don't really realize that. But if you take a step back into like 1999, 2000, and if you remember what skates look like, I mean, there was the one TRS that came out that looked like a shoe, but that was kind of based off of the concept from rems. And then shortly after that, you see, Razor's putting out like a V-cuff, and then all these other companies. But for what we do, that skate, I look at that skate as kind of like it's almost like the Vans of rollerblade. I mean, it's the one skate that changed everything, that you can do every trick in it, which is really weird to me because most skates you put them on, and this skate has like a certain trick vocabulary. You're not going to be able to do backslides, but you can do torques. And that was the one skate where, like you said, like you could just do tricks. Your vocabulary just increased like overnight. And so, like that's why I kind of wish it would come back, because I want to give it a try. I don't want it to be that candy from my childhood where, you know, it was the best candy in the world. Then I try it again when I'm 30 and it tastes like garbage. You know, I want to make sure it's still that skate, and that's kind of what bugs me about it. And I'm always talking to Kato about it, and you know, I do bring it up every now and then. But like the likelihood of them really bringing it back, I don't really know what it is. But I don't think they have the molds for it anymore. But it would be great to see that skate pop up again.
I agree. Even if you could figure out a way to like get an old one and take it to like some bootmaker or something and be like, "Can you make this for me? Can you remake this somehow?" I totally agree with you that I remember being out skating in that skate and going for certain tricks that I remember I would slip out on other boots, and I would surprise myself at like what I would land, or even being comfortable in the air on those skates. Normally, if I would flail out on certain things, the V-cut really accentuated personal style. I think that would be one thing if that was like available for more people. They'd be surprised at how unique their style would be in that skate. And some of the biggest tricks have been done in those skates too, surprisingly. Everyone talks about ankle support, but I mean, Chris Haffey fakie 7 that massive double set.
Yeah, that's something that's really overlooked. I never really thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
And Carlos.
Don't even talk about Carlos.
So that first pair of rems in Transcend, was that, I think, okay, so you did the first heel roll, and I think that was the first time rems were actually seen on video as well, right? How did you get that pair? Because that was before the gray and black ones came out.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting how that unfolded, because it was right before we were still filming Transcend, and I want to say this was late 98, and I was hanging out with, actually I was living with Bo. They basically kidnapped me from my house to shoot Transcend, and I basically left one night telling my parents I was going to be back the next day, and ended up not calling them for a month. I moved down with Bo, and yeah, they were pretty upset about that. And hey, so you coming back? What can we're gonna change your room into an office, but so I get down in there, and we're spending every day at Daily Bread, you know, because Bo's filming this video for them, and Angie tells us, "Hey, Kato's here from France. He's living in a van," and we're like, "Well, that's kind of weird." And so he comes one day. And the van, it literally looks like a frat party ended the night before. I mean, there's shit everywhere. I mean, it looked like a skate company just exploded in there. There was materials all over the place. He only had, I think, one pair of skates made. And Angie was telling me, you know, you're between sponsors right now. I was between K2 and talking to people at USD about getting just stuff on flow. She's like, you know, Kato's got rems. He doesn't really have any riders. Maybe he'd give you a pair of skates. And I told her, you know what? I already saw him down in the van, and he's already making a pair for me. And so what's interesting is I think it was at the 1996 trade show out in Chicago, the the RSA?
Oh, and, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was skating the mini ramp with Dave Payne and Ryan Zlocki, and then John Julio runs over. "Hey, Marshall, you have to see Kato. You have to go to the out booth. Tell him you want to see the secret skate." And so I was like, you know, what is this all about? So I run over there, and I'm like, "Hey, I think it was Alquist and Toto." I was like, "Hey, Toto, where's Kato?" And he was like in the back. They had like a curtain pulled out in front so you couldn't see what was in the back. And Kato brings me back there, and he shows me this skate, and it's just the boot. And it was a very compact, light boot, and I hadn't seen anything like it before. It actually looked like the Air Jordan, I think it's the number 12s. That's what the outline actually reminds me of. And so I'm holding this skate, and I remember this. I remember looking up at Kato, saying, "What is this?" I couldn't believe what I was holding it. I mean, it almost looked like a quad skate, but it was just so much cooler. And I kept asking, you know, when is this coming out? When is this coming out? When can I get a pair? And he didn't really speak very good English. And I just remember him saying things like, "Soon, very soon, very soon." And so that was in like 96, 97. And so you can imagine the excitement when I actually saw him in his van in 1998, you know, and I was pleading for a pair of skates, and he was really cool about it. He put a pair together for me, and it was probably one of the best gifts I had ever I've ever received was that pair of skates, because I feel like in that pair of skates I really found myself. Like I found the one thing that I was really waiting for, because if you look at my career and you look at all the different skate manufacturers I was riding, I mean, I bounced around a lot because I didn't know what really fit my style. I mean, everything felt very, very false to me. And so putting those skates on, the way that I explain it to people is like I'm home. It's where I'm supposed to be. And so even when I came back into skating and I was riding shadows and rollerblades, it just didn't feel natural. And so,
wow, I really relate to that story a lot, because I've tried other skates, and even though the current remz don't feel a lot like those old ones, it's still the closest I can get to that ankle movement that I really love, and the toe pointing. Did that pair that you got, did that not have the heel plates on it? Was that just the toe cap, or what was the sole system like on that first pair?
Yeah, that's okay, so the original pair that I had, it had like that little, it was almost like a 1/4 of an inch heel cap. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it basically formed to the skate. So it was this really thin little cap that was only about, I'd say, 3 or 4 inches long, that went up to that plastic cap that made the side cap of the skate, the toe cap. And it basically popped off. And so you'd have to put that on and then mount your frame on, because it held the frame held the sole plate in place. And the cool thing about that heel cup is it was positioned perfectly for cess slides. And so I remember that skate being the best skate for cess slides just because of the heel cup. But it was this little flimsy piece of plastic. And I remember, when I came from San Diego, I moved back up to San Francisco. And I went to Ezekiel's. He had this skate park up in Santa Rosa. And we were always there. And he took a look at it and he said, "You know what? This whole skate is really cool, but the mounting of this, it doesn't really line up with how the frames were made." So if you remember the frames, they were really narrowed down by the first 2 wheels, and then they kind of went up almost like a heel lift. Yeah. And so what he did was he wanted to make the skate level for soles, and so he basically took a piece of UHMW and carved out a heel plate that kind of sat in there and actually lowered the sole space down to be level with the toe portion of the sole space. And so I actually have a picture on my Facebook. I'm doing like a negative porn star, and it's the best shot of that heel plate. And I don't know if they actually began producing that after seeing that shot, but I remember 50/50 or somebody else coming with something similar for that skate.
Oh yeah, like so it was like a pre-juice system type thing.
Yeah, and it actually I think Juice ended up creating the toe portion of it, the mounting system, when UFS became popular.
I loved my first pair was the black and red, and the sole system on those was like really great size. The angled heel on the back was amazing for locking, and they were fast, but once you got used to how fast they were on ledges, they were perfect. Like, it was such a good material. And it was a big change, too, from K2. I mean, that molded plastic that was injection molded, it has a very different feel. I like UHMW. I like those 616 plates. I want to try them out. But it lends to a different type of skating. And so we were talking about this the other day. There's all these different skate manufacturers and all these different types of skates. And the one thing that I keep coming back to is I think there's only one skate that's right for everybody, for each individual person. And I don't think I think these materials that we're using, I think it's great. I think it's fun to play around with. But maybe it's age. I keep coming back to this softer plastic. I think it's it's ingrained in my skating, and I'm going to keep coming back to it. I even thought about trying like the old K2s and just trying to learn backslides on those again. And I think there's a market for that. I think that, we keep coming up with these new materials and these new products, but I still think there's a market for like the really soft, gummy material for older people. And I don't want to say older people, but some of the OGs.
Oh, I totally agree.
I agree too.
Agree. And there's so many tricks that are only possible with that softer plastic.
Yeah, like backsliding kinked rails.
Yeah.
Unities are a little bit easier than rails.
definitely.
A lot of stuff, and that's the slower sliding on rails is. It's interesting that a lot of not many people say that. Not many people say like, oh, we should make a softer plastic, but it's very obvious. I think a lot of people would be down with that, or would.
I think in the future, or if there's more money in skating, I think the idea of different hardnesses of parts would be amazing. Is if you could buy different plastics, like even for remz right now, if you could get different hardnesses of soles and backslides, it'd be interesting to try that out. And one thing I was thinking of was how much timeless skating went down in skates like K2 or Solomon or the first remz, that there's just really specifically great skating done in those skates.
Stylish.
Yeah, very stylish. There is something about, smaller soles, backslide being softer and closer to the foot, that it informs good style a lot of the time. I mean, big soles, I don't really need big soles on my skates, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference for me. That was a big thing about Jados, is I loved the way the skate felt, but the soles were so big. They don't need to be that big.
They definitely don't need to be that big. And in a lot of ways, it makes tricks easier and it makes style worse. It makes royales so easy. Do you remember in old skates, it took me so long to learn how to royale. It was so hard because you really had to exaggerate that body movement to get down on the boot. And now it just seems like people can do royales so easy that they don't need to exaggerate their body as much.
That's so true.
What's really interesting is, when you go to the park and you watch people skate, Bill Hedrick made a comment to me when I first came back. He's like, you know what, it's so interesting. All the OGs have this very particular style, and I love it. And what it is it's that over exaggeration that you're talking about. I mean, even a sole grind, if you remember learning soles, we had to, the term we used was we had to bone our sole foot, our knee over the rail just to stay locked in. And what it was is basically taking your sole foot, that knee, and basically rolling it over the rail about a half a foot. And, with those really large sole plates like you're talking about, I mean, you can literally just stand straight up away from the ledge and you're stuck on it. You're not getting off, which is really cool because, 33 years old, I want things to be easy. And so it's, the transition of being, this 15, 16-year-old professional rollerblader to this washed up, old has-been that's in his late or mid-30s, it's made it fun. And so going to the skate park and seeing these kids that can just do every trick. It's not like before where we had to learn front sides first and then transition to a sole grind. These guys are learning alley-oop soles, TTSs, and it's that large size of that sole. And I think it has a place in skating. I think it's when you see these evolutionary steps in the products, like when you're talking about going from remz then to a shadow, you typically see this huge burst in new tricks and new abilities, and I kind of embrace it. I like that new aspect of it. But with the style, it's almost like you're sacrificing style for the ability. Yeah. And seeing people do royales in particular, you almost see these kids standing straight up. I mean, their legs are almost locked, and they're doing a royale, and it's mind-boggling. You look at that and you think how long it took you, like you said, to learn how to do a royale. I mean, we had to basically take a file to our frame and get that groove down, so the distance between the bottom of the frame and the boot was, was a lot lower, so it was easier to get down. And I think it has its place. I mean, I'm not going to knock it, but I think that's what really separates the professionals from the AMs and the AMs from everybody else, is that level of style. We have these products now that you can do almost anything in, but what really separates people is the style and how big they go with it. And so I appreciate it in that sense.
On that note, who are some people that you've been connecting with, like watching sections or edits or anything? Who are some people whose style that you really like recently?
There's so many, but I have to say right now, my favorite skater right now is probably Ian Mcleod.
Oh shit, he's always under the radar. Could he be maybe one of the best, the greatest grind, like he figured out some kind of secret for grinding?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but that kid can do everything, and I watch him over and over again because I was such a big ledge skater. I mean, that's what I did, and seeing what he does, it's to me, it's everything that I ever wanted to do, and this kid does it like it's a part of him. Like he never has to think about it, and to me, it's the coolest thing watching him skate. And I go through his sections over and over again, but
he is really good.
Yeah. It reminds me of yourself that like your name doesn't get mentioned enough for how influential I think you were for style, and Ian McLeod's kind of the same thing. He just doesn't get mentioned as much as you think he would.
Yeah, and I it's kind of funny, but he's out there. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff. He's constantly in edits, and you're right, he doesn't really. Being somebody now who's coming back into it, who was there and seeing where he is, I think he definitely deserves a lot more. But I can't stop watching this kid skate. Like that's what gets me pumped to go skate. Now I was watching Ian McLeod, and it's the funniest thing because I'm this 33-year-old dude, and I'm watching this guy that's in his like, what is he, probably 24, 25, and I'm like, that's what I want to be when I grow up, and it's just hilarious.
He's got to be up there, Ian McLeod. Isn't he older than 24, 25? I would think he's closer to 30.
Well, wasn't he really? He was younger when he got on Deshi.
I guess so.
He was a lot younger, and that wasn't that long ago, I don't think. I don't know. Jason, there's like a lost era kind of footage of you where I think after Transcend, did you have any sections? There's FOR. Was there anything after FOR that I'm missing?
So Transcend actually came after FOR, and here's something not a lot of people know is after FOR, I had a girlfriend back in DC, and I ended up quitting skating probably a few months after that. So when I moved back to California and Bo contacted me and he wanted to do a section with me in Transcend, I had already quit skating. I hadn't been skating for almost 9 months, and I wasn't really too happy about wanting to do a section because I knew I was going to have to get back in training, get back with it. And so that was like 98, the end of 98 into 99. And so after that, I mean, when Transcend was done, I moved back to San Francisco with my parents to go back to college. And I basically, and this is the biggest thing that I regret, is not only quitting skating, but taking a pair of those version 2 remz and throwing them in the garbage. That just breaks my heart knowing that I did that. Because I basically walked away from skating. I mean, I had so much angst and so many things that happened to me that it was just, it was needed for me to separate myself completely from it. But on the other end of the coin, it's also what brought me back. And if you look at all the things that I'm trying to do with all these companies now, it's very fitting. But after 1999, you probably won't find anything of me because I didn't even own a pair of skates.
So tell us what led to your decision to quit skating or to throw those rems in the garbage.
Yeah, I was getting hurt a lot, but I think being down at Daily Bread and seeing how the industry really operated, because I was a skater, I wanted skater-owned companies. I felt that's what was going to help us move forward. And seeing all these companies that just that were led by people that didn't skate, it was a huge deterrent to me. And I think being that involved with it at that young of an age, I think it was really bad for me. Knowing my personality and my traits, it didn't match very well. And so, seeing all these company owners that just really didn't skate, I couldn't get on board with it. I didn't like it. And I think being around that so much, so frequently, I think it just really, it built up on my shoulders to the point where it was really easy for me to walk away. I looked at it as an industry that was a fraud. And, aside from Arlo and all those guys that were still running companies, I saw those companies even being owned by like Bravo and these huge corporations. And I didn't like it one bit. And I think that's what led to the decision.
Interesting.
Wow.
And so how long were you kind of out of skating and what brought you back?
So I think it was 2008. I was living in Denver. I was doing a contract for work, and through that whole time span from 99 on, Kato was constantly trying to get me back on skates. And, I mean, his logic was right. It was basically, you old guys need to come back and skate. Just show up at the skate park and give these kids hope that, you can still skate into your older years. And they need to see that. They need to see guys that are part of the industry because it'll get them hyped up. And I didn't really see it until recently, but in 2008, he sent me a pair of skates, gave me Brian Aragon's phone number, and said, hey, call this dude. He lives near you. I had no idea who he was. And so I give him a call, and we talked for a few seconds. And I was like, all right, this guy seems pretty cool. Maybe I'll go skate with him and hang out. And I look him up online, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? I'm gonna go skating after not skating for 10 years with this guy? And I was like, what is he trying to do to me? Is he trying to force me into a deeper hole and not want to skate ever again? And so, I'm watching this kid for like 20 minutes, and I look over at my wife, and I'm like, is Kato stupid? Does he think I'm going to want to go skate for my first time with this guy? And so I put the skates on. I went to they have a Woodward Park there at the mall in Denver, and so I just kind of dinked around. And, the coolest part of that was it'd been 10 years since I skated, and I picked it back up pretty fast, and I was hanging out with all the kids at the skate park. And what was interesting is all these kids were like, yeah, you got to come here more. My mom will pay you for sessions to teach me how to skate. And I thought it was funny because I'm hanging out with, at the time I was like 28, 29. I'm hanging out with a bunch of 12-year-olds. And I was like, this is what my skating career has basically come to, teaching kids how to do soul grinds on like a little ankle-high curb. And, no, it was a little depressing, and so I was pretty busy with work, and so I skated about 4 times, hung it back up. And then this past year, actually it was around Thanksgiving last year in 2011, one of my really old skating buddies from Northern California, I found out that he moved like not even 20 minutes away from me. And so we just started talking about skating, back in the day, all the fun that we had, and how funny it would be if we actually went out and started skating again, this guy, Brian Nixon. And so I went out and I bought those urban skates just to kind of play around. And so when I finally purchased all the other gear, like I bought some Joey Chase frames and the sole plates, and we go to the skate park, and I'm just miserable. I can't do anything. There's a bunch of skateboarders. There's scooter kids just all over the place getting in the way. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. This is stupid. What am I doing? I'm 32 years old, and I'm fighting with scooter kids that are like 10 just to get a run. I'm falling all over the place, and it's just miserable. And as I leave, I see a rollerblader. I'm like, no way. So I'm like just kind of watching him for a few seconds, go over and I talk to him. And it's this guy that I hang out with all the time, Esteban. And I actually credit him to me rollerblading again. And so he's skating with this other guy that they call Old School Carlos. And so I'm just talking to them, and they basically tell me that there's actually a lot of guys out here where I live that skate. And so I thought, oh, you know what, that's pretty cool. And so I go to another skate park with him a few more times, and it just builds up into this desire just to want to skate again. And it was just unbelievable how much I missed it and how much I love it. And I attribute these two guys, Old School Carlos and Esteban, for getting me back into skating. And then, it's just one thing led to another. I started contacting all the people that used to skate from back in the day. Bo Coddington set up the OG Bladers group on Facebook. And it was just this constant reconnecting with people from back in the day, talking about, all the stories that we had, all the skate sessions that took place and all the videos and stuff. And so it was kind of like this snowball effect of, slowly getting back into it to the point where we're at the point socially where we picked up where we all left off. And so, all those connections were back. We were all skating again. And then shortly after starting skating again in November, I think it was like around February, I don't know if you guys remember Dave Cordoza and Manuel Cruz, but they were at the very first NIS in 94.
Yeah.
And I guess Kato told Manuel that I was living out here. And so he tells Dave, and they couldn't believe it. What? Jason Marshall's living like 20 minutes from us? We got to hang out. And so this is where it gets really interesting. So I start hanging out with Dave and Manuel at the tattoo shop all the time because they have a mini ramp in the back. And I find out that Dave Cordoza is really into web design, and he's a graphic artist. And so we start talking about all these things that, we should do, things that we can attribute back to the sport. And one thing led to another. And, it's just, it's amazing how long you can be disconnected from these people, but how fast you can get reconnected and even be more connected to them at the same time. So it's been really cool this last year, but I still don't have my legs back. You know, I got injured shortly after I started. I hurt my left ankle really bad trying to do a kayak grind. And so I think like the last couple of weeks I've been wanting to skate more and get really back into it. And so, you know, these next couple of months that come up into the winter and into the summer are going to be a lot of fun for me.
Wow, I love hearing those stories about, you know, how people got back into skating. And it's always related to a couple people who kept doing it through the years and then connecting back through there. What I wanted to ask you next about was, so Dave Cordoza, Todd, is that the one where it said Dave's section got cut short due to a broken leg or broken arm or whatever? Yeah.
Arm.
What is that? One Nation?
One Nation.
Dave's section had to be cut short due to a broken arm. It was so badass. It was like, was it to a Metallica song or something?
Yeah, it was to a really heavy song. And it was one of those sections that just made you giggle. It was like really funny. He had like a really hardcore style.
Yeah, he did.
Metallica.
Yeah, he was, and he could skateboard really well.
Yeah, he was good at skateboarding.
So he's gonna hate me saying this, but he was actually a professional skateboarder for 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
For 20 years.
Yeah, he rode for Vans. He rode for Acme. He's actually got a pro model deck from Acme.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so he quit skateboarding to rollerblade because it was a lot funner. Became a professional rollerblader, and then when blading dropped down again in the late 90s, he went back to being a professional skateboarder.
Holy crap. So is he like still really into it? Like if I search Dave Cordoza, will I see like some skateboarding sections?
I don't think so, but you know what? I'll have to look at that. I'll email you guys if I can find anything, because he had a little section that he sent to me that was really good, and I want to say it was after one of his really bad injuries in 2002, 2003, and when it was basically like his comeback his edit that he did at the Van Skate Park. But he's a ripper, man. Like he gets back on the skateboard after not riding for a long time, and it's like he never left. I mean, it's amazing, and he's 41 right now. So
yeah.
He's got skills.
How old? So in One Nation, he was older then. If he was a pro skateboarder, then went to rollerblading and back to skateboarding, was he an older guy back then for rollerblading?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been an old fart. I mean, in 94, he was telling me this story that, you know, he was already 18 and drinking and doing all this other stuff when this 94 took place. I think the story he told me, like his girlfriend or wife at the time was having a baby, and so, you know, she was giving birth and he's skating the contest. But but what's funny is like he has this youthful spirit. I mean, like he doesn't seem like he's 41 years old at all. I mean, like I look at him and I'm like, this guy, he's like 25. I mean, it's amazing. Like, you know, even his skating, you know, he just has this youthful look and personality that, you know, to say that the guy's 40 years old, it just doesn't register to me.
There's been times where I've come back from a good session of skating, and my girlfriend's been like, wow, you look like way lighter. That just like there's a glow that happens sometimes after a good session of skating. It's definitely one of the links into the fountain of youth, I think, these activities. And I think that's why a lot of people are starting to get that connection back to it and that desire. So how many people do you think, just from what you know, and through the reunion, how many people have gotten back into skating just even in the past few years?
Quite a bit. The one person that I'm probably the happiest about is Billy Prislin.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he I'm actually, I need to go out and film him for Hammer, but we were talking back and forth on Facebook, and when I saw him at the reunion, it was kind of funny because I looked at him and, you know, he put on some weight, and that's the main reason I got back into skating, was to lose weight. And so I shed a lot of pounds, and like I feel bad. I walked over to him and I was like, "Hey, you changed a little bit," and I patted him on the stomach, and I told him, you know, don't worry, I was in the same boat a few months ago. You know, skating really helps with that, and just seeing him on Facebook, just getting really back into it, because the way that I look at him and his skating, he was kind of like that next step after my generation. And for him to have a Gangstar song too for his mini profile or his profile on VG, it was kind of like I felt connected to him in this weird little musical sense almost. And so, you know, when Gangstar and all that, when he died, you know, I basically on the anniversary of his death, I basically sent him a message, hey, from one Gangstar dude to another, you know, take it easy or something like that. But like just to see him skating again is just it's awesome. But I mean, a lot of the what I consider the second or third generation guys like Matt Andrews and Roadhouse, seeing them skate again, you know, this past weekend and hanging out with them, it's just really good. I mean, and what's interesting is you definitely see this huge gap in the skating between people today and our generation. I mean, we weren't centered around grinding. I mean, it was a lot of airs, and we basically prided ourselves in being well balanced. And so seeing everybody skate together and knowing that more people are going to come back, it's very refreshing. And I mean, I wish you guys would have gone to AIL this weekend and seen all the old school guys that were out there skating, because it was so much fun. And just seeing how positive it is, it's amazing. And, you know, I don't care who comes back. If everyone comes back, it's going to be great. But even if just one or two of these old school guys come back, like I'm thrilled, because it reminds me of that 1994, 1995 feel where, you know, we might be learning tricks again and it has that fun sense to it. But, you know, I guess to answer your question, I go on tangents every now and then, but Billy Prislin is probably the best thing, seeing him skate again.
Oh, I love the tangents. Rob G said almost the exact same thing that you did on the other podcast, that there's certain people that you skate with that it's like a time machine, that it brings you back to that very specific feeling that you had that made skating fun.
Hey guys, I'm just going to go take a shit, so you guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
Drop the kids off at the pool.
I was going to ask you, did you skate flat most of your skating time?
I was really hoping you guys weren't going to bring this up.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I gave so many people a hard time about riding anti-rocker. And, I mean, like, even publicly, I think in my Box Magazine interview, I was actually giving Roadhouse a hard time in it for riding anti-rocker. I haven't ridden flat since 1998.
Really? So when you got back, you didn't do 8 down?
I did on 80 mil wheels with the power blade setup, but you know, my grinders, I have the Jeff Downes wheels front and back, and I got those 616 UHMW wheels in the middle.
And so you haven't tried it apart from the 80 millimeter wheels?
You know what? I have a set that I'm a little leery to try it again, just because you know, I'm still learning. And I'm trying to do it in these baby steps where I'm trying to get myself to that point. So I think probably summer 2013 I'll probably be riding flat again.
So you were known as a flat Nazi back then? I don't remember that.
I was a huge flat Nazi.
Would you do it in person to people? Would you make jokes and stuff at sessions?
Oh yeah, I'd
really?
talk to people about it. Yeah, I was really bad about that.
Do you remember any other flat Nazis from that era of skating?
I think Champion was for a while. Champion But I mean, I think I was the one person that was just really willing to fall on my sword to say that, you know what, anti-rocker is cheating. I didn't really see the utility in it at the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because all we did was skate ledges, and so it took a different skill level to grind ledges flat. I mean, if you look at the hardware we were using, it was near impossible for certain size wheels. But in retrospect, I see the utility now, and I think a lot of that came from I have a really big surfing background, and so understanding that you need different equipment for different terrain, I think it really helped me think differently while I'm skating. And so, you know, in retrospect, you know, I was the flat Nazi, but now I understand the need for it. So, you know, maybe I'm just getting old, and you know, I have a kid now, and you know, I'm trying to be nice to everybody, and you know, maybe that's all it is.
So when you said companies that you're going to be involved with, or that you are involved with, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Do you have some stuff going on?
Yeah, I'll throw some shameless plugs in. I think about a year ago when I first started skating again, I knew I wanted to do something. And looking at the state of the industry, I didn't want to just jump in and say, okay, I'm going to start a wheel company. There's all these other wheel companies out there already. What am I going to do that's so different that these guys aren't already doing? And so it took a lot of thinking. And this actually took place over 2 years, not really one. And it's, how can I help? How can I help with one of these attributes to help inline skating or aggressive skating get back on track? Because there's so many things that went wrong. What can I really provide or help bring to the table? And so at first we were going to start, I'm just going to call it Company B. We were going to start Company B. It was going to be new. We thought it was going to be so different, revolutionary, that nobody had done anything that Company B was doing. And, a lot of the wind came out of our sails when we realized everyone else is already doing this. And so for me, the last couple of years, I'm more interested in bringing new people and old people back into it because, to be honest with you, these guys should be making $500,000 to $1 million a year, like Chris Haffey and Aragon. Those are $1 million dudes. There's no denying that. And so seeing the state of the inline economy and where it is today, I'm so focused on bringing more people into it. And so the easiest thing for us to do right off the bat was, there's guys like me that are coming back. And I look at the industry, I look at the products, the soft goods and the hard goods, and there's nothing I can relate to. And it's not because I don't like the products and I don't like the packaging and the marketing. It's because I'm older. And so, I'm already set in my ways. I remember how things were and I want to reminisce. That's why I'm coming back into skating, is because of the fun that I had and everything that was associated in that timeline. And to come back and not really have that, it's a deterrent. A lot of people have a hard time wanting to fully engulf themselves into something that's so old but so new at the same time that it's a little disorienting. And so, we thought long and hard, and Dave and Dayton Coopersmith and I, we said, well, what was the coolest thing back in the day for us? For me, the only clothes that I would wear was Rise Above. I would not wear anything else. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. And so, I was skating for Senate. I had all these other sponsors, and they're like, hey, you go to these events, you're not wearing anything. You're wearing either a Gap shirt or a Rise Above shirt. And even in ads. And I was like, well, you guys don't make anything I like. I came from like a surfing and skateboarding background, and everything was cool. And this stuff isn't really cool. And so the whole idea behind Rise Above was, people that come back, and we expect to lose a lot of money off Rise Above. There's no doubt about that. But what we're thinking is, if people come back and they have something familiar, it'll be easier to position them to buy something. They'll say, okay, well, I already bought this Rise Above sweatshirt and this T-shirt. I might as well buy a pair of skates. I'm just going to try it. And so it's kind of this marketing thing to entice people to come back. And so, that's Rise Above. And not a lot of people know this, but it's me, Dave Cordoza, and Dayton Coopersmith that are doing that. And it's a lot of fun. We're trying to reconcile where we want the brand to go and where the brand should be. And so, we're trying to keep it original with a lot of the same attributes, with bringing something a little bit new to it. And you're going to see it really progress over the next 2 or 3 years. But at first, we're going to keep it, near to what it was, just because we want to draw those the old people back into it. But
who originally owned Rise Above?
It was a skateboarder and a surfer. I remember Greg Cherry. I don't remember if he was the surfer or the skateboarder, but it wasn't Blader owned. And so when this is another funny thing.
No wonder it was so cool. Fuck.
Exactly.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what's funny about it now is like Dave's a skateboarder and I'm a surfer, so it's kind of like the same thing. Dayton, he was always a rollerblader or a BMXer. And so when I look at clothes, it's hard not to look at those other industries and see how cool they are. And so it's not that we're going to copy and model that, but we're going to try and bring that same element back into it, because the product that's out there right now, it's focusing on a very niche market. And the brand Rise Above itself doesn't really match that market. So it would be really stupid for us to come back and, make a company that didn't match the original branding of the company. So it'd be like if Vans or Volcom went out of business and then 15 years later they come back and they look completely different. That's basically marketing suicide. And so we're always going to have this classic line, but there's a few new things that we kind of want to play around with and bring to the table. So that should be pretty interesting.
That's very exciting.
Rise Above always had the coolest fucking ads. They stood out. You wanted to have a Rise Above shirt because of just based on the ads alone. So it was the skateboarder and surfer dude that designed those, or who designed those original ads?
Yeah, I mean the two of them designed those ads, and that's been a huge topic that we've been discussing. Is, you know, do we stick to the original tone of the ad? And the question is yes. They're going to be subtly different, but I mean, you're going to see all the binge drinking and the drug use and all the same stuff that was in there before. You know, it may change over time, but, you know, with what skating is right now, I mean, that's what it is. Big party. That's what got us all into it. I was watching Baking Cookies when I was a kid, and I saw those guys drinking and partying with strippers, and that's what I wanted to do when I was, 14, 15 years old. I couldn't wait till I was 18 to have a stripper come over.
That's what I still want to do.
You know, it's like that fun element. That's why we skated, was not just because of how fun skating was, but it was the party afterwards that took place. And so trying to basically encapsulate all that together in an ad is something that we're going to focus on to make it fun. I mean, I like seeing the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and one of the comments I made after hanging out with JC and Haffy a couple weeks ago is, I feel like I don't know anybody. And I don't know if that's a problem because of media isn't really projecting the things that go on. But, some of these ads that we're going to do with our riders, it's going to show what they do. And you're going to get to know them, and it's going to be more intimate through these ads. And it's going to have that same impact that the original Rise Above had.
Oh. Can you announce the team?
You're going to know in probably 2 or 3 weeks, but we've already got 4 people. And we are very pleased with these 4 people. And what's kind of funny is we had a couple of them actually kind of approach us. And what was funny is they were on the list of names that we wanted on the team.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Don't let us down. That original Rise Above team, holy shit.
Yeah. Actually, the first rider actually made a comment that he feels bad because he knows he has some big shoes to fill. But, all that really takes is a bottle of Jack and a pound of weed,
I got to pee quickly, so
you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
So let's take a short break. Jason, can you still hang out for a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. I'll call you back in about 5 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Hello?
Hello.
What is up?
Hello. Is this a break, or are we still going?
I think the break just ended.
Oh, is Jason here?
No. No. You just called me. Are you okay? What?
I started breaking up, and then I had to pee, so I'm back now.
Cool. We just took a break.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we'll just call him back.
This is a really good one.
I know. Holy shit! This is getting me so excited about.
It's I'm just getting way too stoked. It's weird. It makes you think of that, like, that the things that are important aren't in the past. They're just always there.
Yep.
Anyways.
Very interesting. Yeah, this is very exciting. Let's call him up.
I love those little questions and things that really spark stories,
Yeah.
Hello.
Yo, what up, Jason?
So we're back from the break. Between the 3 of us, would we be able to list off, or actually, Jason, do you remember the Rise Above team before? Way back when?
The only way I'm going to be able to go through the list is remembering the parties that took place at the 50/50 house. Because I never really... The only ad that I had up on my wall, because that's what everybody did, right? You cut the pictures out of Daily Bread and Box and put them on your wall.
Yeah.
Was the one of TJ Weber just standing there looking up at the camera with the green Rise Above shirt.
Oh, fuck. I bought that shirt, I think, because of that ad.
But here's how I'm going to start. Is the original 3, which were Dayton Coopersmith, Dave. Oh my God, I forget his last name. Dave from New York. Ortega. Ryan Jacklone. Those were the 3 originals. And then after that came on Champion, Matt Andrews, myself, Shane Saviors, and that's where I'm going to have a block. And Tom Heiser was one of the original 2.
Ryan Jacklone? Or was...
Ryan Jacklone was so fucking sick.
Yeah.
Those spins are timeless.
Oh, man, his Misties. I loved some Free Advice, where it was just like slow motion Misties for a whole section. Oh. What a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
What an awesome section. People just doing Misties.
Oh, that video makes me want to do Royales too.
Oh yeah.
Was it VG2 or Bottom Line where he was doing fakie 7s on stairs or forward 7s?
Oh fuck, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think it was the first.
I should know that, but I don't. Did he do a really sick one in VG3 as well? Possibly. Did he do like Rocket or something?
Yeah, he did a couple of them. He did the fakie rocket one over the ASA box, that pyramid-looking thing. And then I guess there was that skate park by the bridge in New York where he did another one that was really sick with that the hip-hop song. I forget the name of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his forward 720s were really nice. And fake 7s. Never mind. I think I was thinking of Dave Ortega does like a rocket 540 over a wall or something like that in VG3. That was
he did that on the banks over the cement divider.
Rockets. What happened to that trick? You don't see rocket 540s, do you?
I don't know. I'm not going to answer that one.
Oh, if Broskow did a really nice rocket fakie 7, everyone would do it. Sell it
not
to
everybody should do it.
Yeah. You're right, actually. You're right. The weird some tricks work for some people. Like what's your take on Mizus?
If it's shot at the right angle, it really depends. I think the problem is everybody wants that as like a crotch shot, so they get up in there and it's like all you see is the dangle. You don't really see the trick. And with the second project I'm working on, I don't know if you guys have heard about the Hammer magazine. It's the digital magazine, the iPad, iPhone app that we're doing.
Cool. Oh, you're doing that.
Yeah. And the most difficult thing that we realized right out of the gate, and I literally have a list of tricks that look good at certain angles, and which angles they don't look good, and they're crossed out. And what's funny is I kind of went back into the vault to like all the old skateboarding videos that I used to watch, and they did the same thing like around the Bones Brigade areas. Their photographers basically looked at every picture, and they said, okay, these tricks can only be shot this way. And Daily Bread, Johnny Donho, he used to do the same thing, and I didn't realize it at the time, but there's certain tricks like a Mizu that do not look good in certain positions. And so it's really, really knowing the angle and the lighting and where to take it from.
Yeah, there is something about so Johnny Donahoe, Jess Deerenforth, Ryan Schude. I'm trying to think of all the old photographers. Those old Daily Breads really nailed some of the like soul and spirit of skating in some of those pictures. How close they were and where the angle was. Jess Deerenforth especially, like his photography, he just knows how skating feels when you look at his pictures. So can you list any other tricks on top of Mizu? What are some other tricks that are very dangerous angle-wise?
Definitely Machios. And I think all the Mizu tricks, I think like, the mistrials, those are really difficult because you look more like a cowboy than somebody with legs wide open. that arcing shape of your legs when you're doing a mistrial of
like a cowboy riding a horse.
does. What's funny is we went shooting with Happy last weekend, and he was doing mistrials, and Dave Cordoza took a shot that it's the funniest shot in the world, and it's never going to be released. And it's like this total, like, it literally looks like you're riding a horse with no horse there. It's like you're sitting there with your feet together, crouched down, and it's sad because it's everybody who does that trick looks the same way from that angle. And Mcleod's is another really hard one because it's such a free moving position with both of your feet that, a lot of people say unless you do it like you're on a skateboard and have that perpendicular look to 1 foot tricks, it doesn't really look good unless you're grabbing it in a certain position. And so it's a lot of it depends on the skater and how they do the trick. And when you get to guys like Happy, I mean, everything looks good. It's just, for me, my personal preference of not really having a crotch shot with that big open space between the legs, that drives me insane. But Unity's is really another hard one to shoot because it's really hard to tell which direction they're going unless you get that composition and show the aspect of the edge of the ledge and they're looking that direction. Because most of the time when you're doing like a Savannah or spinning on and spinning off, you're looking in the opposite direction that you're going. So it's very disorienting to know what's going on. And but with a lot of these tricks, we're also noticing, okay, well, this trick only looks good in video. This trick only looks good with a photo. This trick can only be shot in a sequence. And so really laying down those foundations, we're creating these rules, but we're also trying to break them at the same time. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, Mizu's, actually negative Mizu's. That's a mind blower.
You did a negative Mizu and a Mizu in Transcend, and I think that must have been because of that heel plate. You didn't have much of a heel plate, so maybe the technology forced you. I liked the negative Mizu that you did in Transcend was good because it was filmed from the front, wasn't it?
It was filmed from the front, and that's the only way that
from the front. So he was coming at the filmer?
Yeah, when the cameraman is in front of the camera. A lot of rollerblading grinds are front filming looks way better. Like a fisheye, the cameraman's almost going backwards, and the skater's grinding towards him.
And that's actually a start. There's a lot of people that knock fisheyes and wide-angle lenses, but it's really hard not to look at the skateboard industry and surfing and all these other industries, but because we closely do mimic the same terrain as skateboarding, it's nice when you get somebody that has like a telephoto lens and you get this really nice shot and you get everything in the background and everything's in focus or certain things are out of focus. It's very artistic.
I love fisheye.
Fisheye's the shit.
I love the look of it. I think there's certain tricks that just need to be filmed with a fisheye. There's something about it that captures something that you can't get otherwise.
It's intimacy. It's
very intimate.
And all those distorted angles that you get, it over exaggerates everything, and it gives it this image of just grandeur.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh,
when
you can see like fisheye where it's like a low angle, and it just makes the person look like a god.
And it's like you can see the sweat, and you can see like the way the skates are worn in, or like if there's hair flailing.
Jeez.
Alive.
A flapping shirt.
You know what? A flapping shirt. You know what? I can think of a mistrial shot. I think Brian Jaggers, is there a mistrial shot that's really good of him? But I can't think of many Mcleod photos that I really like.
Mcleod's a pretty dumb. Well, it can be such a dumb trick. If it's like the grabbed Mcleod.
It looks like you're just standing on your foot.
But yeah, I think photos of it look really dumb.
It's like if you want to make fun of rollerblading, you lift up your foot and grab it, like in your shoes. It's just one of the things that you do, and then it just looks like you're standing on one leg and grabbing a foot.
Was it Willie Shanconi? This guy that Joey and I went to high school with? He would always say, "Hey, you guys still rollerblading? Still doing the 1-footer?" That was like his joke.
He loves the 1-footed grind. There's the 3 reference points. Like there's twist pretzel grinds. People say like twisty foot grinds, boot grabbing, and then jumping up and grabbing your feet. Those are just like all the little easy access to poke fun. But I was going to ask you, Jason, you said like some of that stuff came from skateboarding. You skated at the same spot as some legendary skateboarders. So
I did.
How did that work? Like, did you guys they must have thought you guys were ridiculous. Like, in retrospect, rollerblading, I grew up watching a lot of classic skateboarding videos with friends in high school, but I still loved rollerblading. Like, I didn't think it was lame at all. But seeing those guys, did you ever want to like skateboard instead of rollerblade? Like, did you ever see like Mark Gonzalez? Like, you were seeing something so refined with decades of history. Did you ever look at your skates, or how did that work? The dynamic, pretty much, is my question. Skating a spot with something with decades of history, and here's these young kids with rollerblades.
Well, I actually not a lot of people know this, but I got into these sports from skateboarding. I mean, that's what I did back in Virginia when I first started. And when I was moved away from that group of people, when I was like 12, 13 years old, we moved here to Oakland. And when we moved here, I was skateboarding and surfing a lot. There was no beach, so I kind of gave up. I started playing hockey and just basically pushed my skateboard aside. And when I started rollerblading, one of the first places we went to was Embarcadero. So being able to see these guys like Gonzalez and Costin and Mike Carroll, all these guys that were kind of like almost like a hero in skateboarding, even though I was detached from the sport at that level. I wasn't like a T-dog. I just kind of did it casually. But seeing them on my rollerblades, knowing that I wanted to do something similar that they were doing in their industry was a real eye-opener for me. Hearing things like, hey, did you see what Mark Gonzalez did on the Gons Gap today? Hey, did you see what Costin did at Hubba's? And the most interesting thing is when I started getting really good at blading and my style kicked in a little bit, these same guys were giving me props. Carl Watson, the guy that did the little interlude in the beginning of Julio's VG4 profile.
Yeah.
I taught that guy how to frontside grind on a pair of K2s, and he loved it. He thought it was the funnest thing in the world. And it was just, we used to hang out with these guys all the time. I mean, we were down there, we'd hang out at the Carl's Jr., we'd, smoke a blunt with them at Hubba Hideout. It was different. It was, we were almost connected at the same time that we were being disconnected by the skateboard industry, not the skaters, but the industry. And, we all looked up to them. They were older than us. They had more of a refined industry. And, I mean, let's face it, skateboarding's cool. It was cool to be around these guys because they were around for so much longer, and what they produced was great. A lot of people aren't going to like me saying that, but it's true. I mean, it's an industry that was basically built up on all these different levels of, things that took place that we're starting to do now. Yeah. But, Eric Costin, he was on the cover of the photo issue in 1996 or 97 doing a blunt slide on Hubba Hideout. And I was in the shot. And the photographer walked over to me and said, hey, man, it's cool if you're here skating. We don't really care, but do you mind moving out of the way so we can get this shot? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I get out of the way. They take the shot. I didn't really know what they were filming for. And I remember I was doing full cab alley-oop machios and full cab backside backslides. And Eric Costin comes over to me and he's like, hey, that looks like you're doing like a no slide and like a 5-0 grind. And I was like, yeah, it kind of looks like that. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And he just skates off.
Holy shit. It's crazy to think sometimes that we just assume there's tension. And a lot of the times it's just a mental game if you come up to a skate park that a lot of the times there is no tension, hey, between skateboarding and rollerblading. A lot of it was designed.
Totally. Like, it's so silly. Very juvenile. I hope it goes. I think it's going to eventually just fade.
It is bizarre, though. The thing that I was saying on the Jacob podcast, that it's still like rollerblading is a punchline. Like every major comedian has made a joke with rollerblades. Like it's a funny word. Do you ever think about that, Jason? That just the word rollerblading, in terms of what it still means to 99% of the world. Do you ever have to deal with the little jokes and things like that? Like, how do you explain it?
15 years ago, I mean, it's something that bothered a lot of us. But today, like if you show somebody Happy's drip drop section and say this is what rollerblading has become, it's that awareness. It's people understanding that it's completely different. Because what we did, I admit, what we did was fun. It may not have looked very cool. It may not have been cool in the eyes of the world. But the one thing that rollerblading will always have over any other sport is how much fun it is. Just the ramp-up time, the how fast you can learn stuff that's similar to like a skateboard or BMX. And these are the things that people want to do that are fun. Like, it takes a skateboarder 5 to 10 years to do a handrail. Rollerblading, you can literally do one in 6 months if you try hard enough. In that fun aspect, once people see that again, I think that's what's going to help expand the industry. But, you really have to take a step back and see it for what it was. The skateboard industry had a lot to lose. They were looking at it from a sales perspective. They saw kids out there rollerblading that in terms of market share should have been riding a skateboard, helping their industry succeed. And at the same time, you had people that were advertising and rollerblading that were biting off of the skateboard industry, and they were deliberate bites. And so that's where a lot of the animosity came from Steve Rocco and his son when they did Big Brother toward, Arlo, was there were things that were being done that were almost mocking skateboarding, and a lot of those anti-Semitist rollerblading comments kind of came from that. I think that if we didn't bite skateboarding as hard, those comments might not have been made. But at the same time, it's not really about where you are. It's from the depths that you've climbed from. And so if we can all climb out of this hole together and get it to where it needs to be and kind of diminish that tarnish that's taken place these last 10 years with the comments. And that's something else that I'm trying to help a few people, which is the rebranding of the name rollerblade and just the sport itself. But it's possible. It's really easy. And there's certain things that we're going to try to do to put in place that's going to make it really difficult for people to want to continue making those comments afterwards, things that we're trying to do in mainstream media. So, we know it's an uphill battle. We know it's going to take a couple of years, but you can't deny when you put a pair of rollerblades on your feet and you're just cruising, it is the coolest, funnest thing in the world. And if you just market the fun, it'll be so much easier for us to get back on track.
Oh, there's those videos online of like, you can look on YouTube of people putting on a pair of skates that's been collecting dust in their garage and making like a making fun of rollerblading video. But sometimes they go on for so long and the person is actually having so much fun. Like they're making a video that's a joke video about rollerblading, but you can tell that they like the mental gears start going like, oh shit, I can just jump around and ride around and do ridiculous things in these. It's like infectious. As soon as you put them on, you start smiling like a little kid.
It is a fountain of youth. It makes you feel so young to do it.
Yeah, and trying to recapture that. I mean, you almost have to fall on your sword to a certain point to say, you know what? It may not be the coolest thing out there. A lot of people don't think it's cool, but it's fun.
Definitely.
And people willing to sacrifice the cool for the fun. I mean, I was a skateboarder and a surfer, two very cool things, but I consider myself a rollerblader. And I'm okay with saying that now. Looking at what people are doing, watching this Fish Guys video, which is probably one of the most revolutionary things or videos I've seen like ever, and seeing what skating is now, I'm so proud to say that I rollerblade. I go around work, and when I tell people I'm going skating this week, and you skateboard? And I look at them and go, fuck, I don't skateboard. That's stupid. I rollerblade. They're like, what? Rollerblade? And I show them these videos, and they're like, oh my God, that's so much bigger than a skateboarder. I'm like, you have no idea. And when I jumped the leap of faith, and they're like, wow, you did that too? I remember that guy, Jamie something, doing it. And I'm like, Jamie Thomas? Yeah, that's whatever. Rollerbladers.
You did jump the leap of faith.
Yeah, holy shit.
You held that grab too. Holy.
Yeah, bomb drop.
Yeah, your body just like crumpled. That was huge. Were you okay after you did that?
I was the only person I think that didn't really get broken off, but when I landed, I bounced off of my right ass cheek, and I think it damaged my sciatic nerve because every now and then my right leg will just go numb.
Okay, so you tried it, Matty Mance tried it, Shima tried it,
Ian Brown.
Ian Brown. Anyone else? Who else tried it?
Oh, Cal McKenzie. Oh my God. did he try and tap it, or was that a mistake?
I don't think he tried intentionally.
His fall was Cal McKenzie's fall was the worst. Definitely.
Yeah. Eric Garcia tried it.
Eric Garcia tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they cranked the noise on the landing, and it was like boom, and he just like fell back.
Wow.
That was in his Dyna profile, I think.
Oh, that's a good section.
Really good section.
So 4 out of 5 rollerbladers that tried it, it was K2s.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of good skating went down on K2s. So you were on K2, Jason, for a while there?
Yeah, I didn't know I was on K2 the whole time. That's what was funny about it, is I was getting free skates, and how it started was when we were filming for VG4 back in, I think it was 96, 97. We were hanging out with Heiser at the 50/50 house, and I kept breaking skates from doing all these gaps. Like I was always a big gapper, and we went to Monterey High School, and the gap in the front of there is probably one of the biggest gaps I've ever done. And I just kept breaking skates on it. So I wasn't telling them this, but they kept sending them to me. And what was funny is when VG4 came out, I went to the release, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching a K2 ad at the end, and I see my name in it. I watch the Senate ad, and my name's in it. Like, all these companies are saying that I ride for them, and I had no idea. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I saw my section, but I'm like being advertised in like everything right now. And so I keep looking over at Dave Payne, and he won't look at me. And so at the end, he walks over to me and shakes my hand, and it was kind of like my introduction to being a rider for all these teams. And it's the coolest thing ever, because I was getting mad. Like, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And so that's kind of how I was introduced into K2, was probably with Tom Heiser at the time. But
wow,
it was a weird relationship. I didn't really talk to those guys much. Skates just kept showing up. Snowboards, and I'd sell the snowboards because I didn't snowboard at the time, and I'd go out and buy some clothes and party.
I actually purchased so I purchased remz because of your Transcend section, and I actually got King 55s because of that section too. You had good taste in skates in that Transcend section,
and you always made them look really good. Like, any pair of skates that you rocked looked really good. Like, you rocked Razors in your FOR profile, and they looked so good. And you rocked USDs. You made USDs look good. Those white USDs in the Transcend profile.
Thrones. Yeah.
And you always skated flat, didn't you?
I always skated flat.
You always had good skates.
Yeah. I wrote that down in my notes. Was that because of your the skateboarding background? You had a sense of like style, the way that you wanted your shoes to look, almost that translated into your skates.
Yeah, I was a big shoe whore. Anytime the new Jordans or the Scottie Pippens came out, that's kind of what I wanted. And at the time, skateboarding shoes really weren't much, and so it was a huge influence in style on what I had on my feet. And all of that kind of worked from the ground up. I mean, when you go shopping, I always go shoe shopping, and I base all my outfits and the things that I wear off of my shoes. And it's all color-coded, from the belt has to match the shoes, the pants have to be an off-tone color between the shirt and the skates. And it was just kind of like this structure that I had that I think it's because I was raised by my mom and my sister, and that's all I did was shop. And so I had this good sense of kind of fashion, I guess. And that's another thing. I was a fashion Nazi. If you were wearing a pair of K2s and you had a USD shirt on, I was going to give you a ton of shit. Hey,
I think of that. If the skates that you have on don't match the shirt, it's a big faux pas. You're creating some bad energy there.
Yeah. The universe is out of sync.
I remember Josh telling me that like he wanted to wear clothing of companies that produced hard goods, just because like you might as well support a company that's actually going to produce skates, and that's a pretty good point. If you can like put an extra $30 in USD's bank account, if that happened, if enough people buy T-shirts, it might help them like produce a better skate, or
That's true. That's true.
But it's unfortunate that most of the hot clothes are like from just clothing companies.
there really isn't a lot like what you were saying with companies right now. There really isn't a lot that you can rock that kind of means something that you can connect with in skating. That I don't really wear a lot of skating clothes, and it is to do with that, like growing up through skating. We just have a different connection to it. Do you ever think of that, Todd? Like, I know Inri, I really liked. I liked the Inri stuff, and the 4x4, like any Jeremy Baytal, his art was really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you connect with much clothing stuff?
I don't wear that much, a lot of rollerblading clothes, and I think it's a huge mistake of rollerblading to constantly target kids. Like, I understand why they do it from a marketing perspective, but it was really refreshing to listen to Jason, to listen to you talk about targeting older people more and trying to do things that excite those older people, because that's like a huge problem with rollerblading is older people just not being able to connect with it anymore. And we need more companies that are targeted towards the OGs, and it's unfortunate that a lot of those companies that we grew up on are gone, and we're left with all this new stuff that we don't connect to.
Yeah.
I was watching the Bones Brigade documentary the other night, and one thing that really struck a chord with me was they were talking about...
Do it yourself?
No.
No,
Stacy Peralta does jerk himself off a little bit in the documentary because he directed it, and so he kind of tries to hold it together. But the Bones Brigade documentary, Lance Mountain, they talk about how when he was in the video, it was I think it was Future Primitive. Mike Vallely is his name?
Yes.
Yeah, Vallely.
Mike Vallely was talking about when he saw that video, he would look at guys like Tony Hawk and Steve Caballero and one of the other dudes on the team and be like, oh, fuck, no, that doesn't, yeah. Like, technical dudes. And Mike Vallely's watching this video as a young kid being like, oh, fuck, I can't do any of this. Like, that doesn't look fun. And then Lance Mountain's section was in it, and he was like, yes, this I connect with. Like, this is accessible. Do you think that rollerblading's missing a little bit of that? Talking about the OG thing, that kind of like spirit and soul of skating, something like Dustin Latimer's section in Accidental Machines, where you can be older, you don't have to break yourself off, you don't have to be technical, you can really just have fun skating. Do you think there's media that there's not much media out that has that vibe?
Absolutely.
Right now?
I think that's one of the biggest problems right now is exactly what you said, and we talk about this all the time, especially with Hammer, is how do you make the sport accessible and get kids excited to want to do it? Because you look at some of these sections and these kids are thinking, first off, there's so many spins to tricks, spins on tricks, and spins out that when a kid looks at it for the first time, he doesn't know what's going on. It's really difficult for him to wrap his mind around all three of these different pieces of that one trick that took place. And you know, us older guys, when I come back, it's not that I can't do it, I just don't want to do it. You know, I don't really have the energy and the means to do a 540 onto a trick and then a 360 onto another grind and then spin out. You know, I don't have the energy to do that anymore. And so a lot of it comes with me wanting to just really hold something really nice and have fun and kind of recapture what it was like back in the day. And when you notice the expansion of rollerblading back in the day, that's all we had. I mean, the one thing that we were picky about was style, because there wasn't a lot of tricks. But what attracted these kids in was the fact that they were looking at, you know, these guys on rollerblades, and they said, okay, all I have to do is jump to get onto that grind. And once I get to that grind, if I can do it good enough, I could probably get sponsored. And that's what a lot of us were thinking when we first got into it, was the illusion that all I have to do is jump onto this and learn these couple tricks and I can get sponsored. Great, I'm going to do it. And if you look at the gap now between the pros and those people that would want to get sponsored, it's so unreachable right now. But I think you're right. I think if you could recapture some of the older guys and even get some of the newer guys to kind of follow some of the same trick guidelines and make it look more accessible, it would probably draw some of the younger kids in.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, rollerblading was a lot. appealing to kids back in the VG days, like back when it was old school. I think now, like, people do the craziest shit and like transferring rails and like huge fucking gaps. I think a lot of kids probably look at that and they're like, I don't want to fucking do that. Like, yeah. I don't want to slide this 50-foot rail, drop rail. You know, it's just so crazy. But I don't
want to die.
Yeah. I don't want to fucking break my leg. But then like a video like VG and just like very stylish skating that people could relate to, and it was still dangerous, but it wasn't anywhere near as dangerous as it is now. And it probably looked a lot more fun to kids, and it probably made them say, "Oh, I want to get a pair of skates. That looks like fun."
Well, I mean, you can't really put blame on anyone, but what it really comes back to marketing. And you know, it's great that all these, and it's not the skaters' fault. I mean, these skaters are being captured with what they're doing, and it's great, and that needs to happen. But you really have to understand that marketing pyramid and that paradigm of how things are structured. And if you want to reach that wider base of people, the newer base of people that supports everything else, which is what these people are doing now, you really have to focus on that. And a lot of that's not being done because whether it's egos, company egos, and people aren't really willing to put their name or their brand at that level, because of the site, the visibility that they'd have is doing something different and outside of aggressive. But that's the one thing to me that's really missing is, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, we've tried everything. And, you know, all this stuff promoting aggressive skating, it's just not working anymore. Take a look at where you came from. If you ask anybody that's under, say, 35 years old, between 25 and 35, where did you come from? Did you jump straight into aggressive? And most of the people are going to say no. I mean, I came from hockey. Haffey came from hockey. Lawrence Ingram from 50-50. I met him playing hockey. Kel McKenzie, I met him playing hockey. Eric Garcia played hockey. Most of us played hockey or just rollerbladed because our parents got it for us. And if you look at it that way, you know, we need to be marketing more toward I don't call it fitness anymore. I call it cross-training because I think fitness is a pretty demeaning term. But you know, cross-training, because I picture spandex and, you know, the helmet and all the gear on it when they say fitness, and the boardwalk skater. And cross-training to me is really what rollerblading is. It's the ability to do one sport to better the other sports as your core focus. And so, you know, for leaving all those other parts of rollerblading out, I think that was kind of suicide for us. I mean, we tried so hard to disassociate from the one thing that was probably funneling all this money in, and we basically gave them the middle finger. And so the new Rise Above logo, I don't know if you've seen it, it's like a circle that looks like a maze with an 8-point star in the middle. And the meaning of that logo is we've spent all this time going through this maze trying to find out who we are, and there's no way out. We're rollerbladers. We need to accept who we are. We need to accept all different aspects of rollerblading to move forward. Because I don't think that rollerblading, and a lot of people aren't going to like me saying this, I don't think rollerblading is cool in the eyes of the world. I think it's fun, and that's what we need to market and focus on. But I do think it's cool. I think other people have a hard time accepting it because of the propaganda that took place with skateboarding hating us. But you know, in the center of that maze is us. It's the hockey players. It's the aggressive. It's the fitness. It's the solemn. It's the dance. It's the freestyle. And once we accept who we are and are happy with it, once we can go to work in school and say, I'm a rollerblader. I love being a rollerblader. I don't like skateboarding. I don't like BMX. This is what I do. This is who I am, and I'm happy. Once we can do that, I think that's when we're really going to see people moving forward in the sport and really realizing that we do need each other. We need these 25 to 30-year-olds out there buying fitness skates because they're going to have kids who are going to play hockey. And when they force their kids into hockey, the kids are going to look over and see us grinding stuff, and they're going to want to rebel, or they're going to want to do it for this artistic aspect of it. And that's where we're going to get our numbers from. The people who are already doing it, who are already blading, it'll be really easy for us to not necessarily steal those numbers, but easily transition them into this part of the industry. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, and that I'm really focusing on with a couple of really large key companies in the inline industry is marketing to that bottom part of the pyramid, the base. How do we build that up to bring all the money back to the top, which is where we are? So,
wow. You definitely know your shit. I think when you talk about either, like trying to rebrand rollerblading somehow. But the biggest one that you said is like admitting that, it's not that cool. I think if more people just admitted that, obviously I think it's amazing and I think it's cool, like you said, but that really trying to look objectively at it and see why it can be funny to people or maybe look awkward or dorky.
Yeah.
It's true, and I think a lot of people still don't want to admit that. They've got, chip on their shoulder, or they're very defensive with it.
Very defensive. And I think it's a mistake in our media to try to make it look cool or to try to make these people look badass or because that just makes it look ridiculous.
Well, there's nothing more uncool than trying to tell someone that you're cool.
Exactly, and there's nothing more like cool and like trying to make your shit look tight. And like I appreciate aiming for good style and everything, but it becomes a blanket when people are trying to look cool. They're hiding parts of themselves, and we need to. I love that phrase that you said, sacrifice the cool for the fun.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. That's a Jason Marshall original. That's good. I want that on a fucking t-shirt. I actually just tweeted it. Fuck yes. But as rollerbladers, we need to just focus on having fun and not concern ourselves with how it's perceived. Just try to have fun with it and create interesting media and revealing media.
Oh yeah. And the word personality gets overused, but you were touching upon that in, seeing a Rise Above ad with Tom Heiser and it said lick my ass rookie, or like remember, like that shit was awesome. Or there was one, was it like Andy Cruz or someone like licking a palm tree and they looked all fucked up, this black and white photo. And yeah, the TJ Weber one, I didn't know any of these. Like I wouldn't have known that TJ Weber was stoned. In Night of the String, is it Night of the String, Todd, where they're in Amsterdam and there's just those shots of TJ Weber and he's so baked. The camera just like cuts away to him. I didn't know that like half of, or like most of the rollerblading industry was just fucking stoned for like a lot of those videos. Yeah. I was so naive and I didn't care. Like it just looked cool anyway. Regardless of if people were drunk or stoned, it had a feeling to it.
Yeah. And I think it's also a mistake to focus so heavily on the quality of the media.
Oh yeah.
In terms of like using the best cameras and getting like the best look, like the crispest, most perfect shots, and trying to kind of emulate like what snowboarding videos and skiing videos are doing. I mean, I appreciate it, and it is pleasing to the eye, but I think things can be really shitty, like image quality wise, and still be entertaining as fuck. Like it doesn't need, like you're almost limiting the amount of information you can receive about the person when you're like, oh, this shot, it didn't make the cut because like there was dirt on the lens, or it was filmed with a shittier camera. Like if it reveals something and if it's entertaining, that's all that really matters. Like the best video ever can be made with an old shitty camera
on an iPhone.
On an iPhone, but not on a Hero Cam. Hero Cam suck my dick.
Well, then I'm going to move into my shameless plug number 2, if that's okay.
Do it.
So with Hammer Magazine, that's something we've actually had a lot of discussions about, and I just recently upgraded my camera, but most of the shots that we were taking, we were trying to capture that raw grit that, what is skating? You look at the fish guys with the fishing or the wide angle and the fisheye, how do you recapture that essence? How do you bring that intimacy back to what you need to focus on, which is the skating? And I was out there shooting with a T2i, like the bottom of the line professional camera, and a fisheye lens. And some of my pictures, when I look at them and I wasn't pleased with them, and I'd show somebody else, and they basically told me, it has that old Daily Bread feel to it. And then looking at something else that somebody else did that's more current, and it literally looks like an MTV cover shot. And I'm I think they both have their place, but I think if you're trying to recapture the youthful spirit of blading and what it was for us, you have to take a step back and look at it subjectively. When we fell in love with rollerblading, there was none of these telephoto shots. A lot of it was fisheye and wide angle, and it was up close, personal, and dirty, and you saw skating. And we loved it. And there's a place for both. I mean, there's a place for a telephoto lens. There's certain shots where you know it's really good, but if you look through any skateboarding magazine and listen to the professional photographers in skateboarding talk about it, they'll tell you the same thing. 75 to 90% of the time, you should be using a wide angle or fisheye lens. And they hold that like it's the letter of the law. And if you go through any Thrasher magazine, any Transworld skateboarding magazine, and count the number of wide angle and fisheye shots, it is literally like 80%. And it's not that it's easy, because shooting with those lenses is very difficult to make it look really good. I mean, composition and lighting are everything, but it pulls the person in, and it really helps you kind of conceptualize what's going on with the skating, as opposed to, you know, all the abstract stuff going on around it. So, you know, with Hammer, the one thing that we said is, you know, we'll put some other shots in. We'll have some standard length and some telephoto shots in there, but we have to make sure that it still has that raw grit to it. I mean, it has to look like skating. You can't be overcome by the building in the background. It has to accentuate the skater. Maybe a color on the side of the building matches the skater, the frame. In that case, you kind of draw it in a little bit with the telephoto lens. But, you know, I look at skating now, and a lot of it's emulating skiing, where skiers jump these really big jumps. So they have to stand, you know, a couple 100 yards back and shoot with a telephoto. But, you know, there's a time and place for everything. I think if you want to attract and bring more of these young kids in, kids love the way that wide angle looks. I mean, there's no denying it. And so that's something that, you know, I get a lot of shit from it all the time. Bill Hedrick is always making fun of me. Oh, are you shooting with a fisheye again? And I'm like, yeah, I love this thing, you know. But, you know, it's all about being subjective about what things really are and seeing them for what they are and how things have worked. I mean, it's really easy to look at the skateboard industry who have done everything right, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. I think we need to try and bring some of the things that they've done that help their industry back into ours, because they're on the pedestal. I mean, they've done everything right. They are where we all want to be, and so to deny any of that it's kind of difficult, you know. And
yeah, definitely. I think when we were watching the ground control video, we were joking about how it's like, wow, they were like, this looks like a corporate video for this building, and there just happens to be a skater in the shot. It's that the influence of like high quality video being so widely available on Vimeo and everything. It's just so weird how people think that your tools inform creativity, but it's never the truth at all. Do you have a favorite skate photo just off the top of your head from all the Daily Breads?
Yeah,
like
it's something.
Dustin
Latimer doing the alley-oop fish brain, the parallel grab, and the ditching.
Don't even.
Wow.
Stop it.
Nice one.
Woo!
That's That's my all-time favorite shot, and with the kids standing there in the background, just the composition that they captured with that, and just at the time seeing that trick, knowing that, yeah, we used to do it on ledges, down ledges, maybe a 10-stair, but knowing how he got up there and the grab and the style that he produced for that shot, that is probably the best skating shot in my eyes ever. Yeah. Nothing matches that still to this day.
Ooh, there's something to be said about photos where it would be impossible to, like, pose it. Like, you know how it's possible to, like, just stand on a rail and, like, pose a trick and take a photo and it would look exactly the same as if you actually did it.
Oh, yeah.
In that photo, like, there's no way that Latimer could have, like, faked that trick.
No, you can feel it. You can feel that it's a moment in time where they cheated the time-space continuum with a parallel alley-oop fish brain.
And it was prime time. It was like, you know, the sun was just going down. It was that orangey kind of light.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit.
The first thing that I thought what the fuck is this little kid doing in a ditch this time of day?
Yeah.
Where is parents?
Little ditch kid, like he wasn't wearing shoes, was he? He was like in
eating ice cream or something. Like, where the fuck is this kid's parents?
He had a big like Hawaiian shirt on too, didn't he?
Yeah,
the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah,
and it turned out it was like Brooke Howard Smith's cousin or nephew or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Was he eating? The kid was eating something.
Yeah, it was like a popsicle or like a pop or something.
There's something really like good. When you think of how you were able to name that picture right away, there's just something that photo, a feeling that you could write, an entire book about. Just the fact that the kid's looking up, it's amazing what a powerful photograph can do.
The kid adds so much, almost even like as a reference of scale, because the kid looks so small and he's looking way up at Latimer on this huge ledge. If the kid wasn't there, I mean, it still would be a great photo, but that kid adds so much to that image.
Oh my God. Like you get so many feelings about like the power of vision and imagination that you can think of being a little kid. And then maybe when you're older, you can be a great rollerblader or something. I don't know. There's just so much to that. It's wild that those photos have such an instant feeling. That talking about all of this stuff, growing up, watching videos and your favorite photographs and things, and how technology doesn't matter. You always remember how something made you feel, not exactly what it looked like. Yeah. It's like feeling that you get, and I think that's missing from a lot of video and photography and even products.
Do you think that's do you think it's more or less because of the reduced amount of photography that's out there? Because when you look at Facebook and you look at all these online media outlets, and the content is lost as quick as it's shared, especially a picture. Not so much with the videos, but it's almost like that's an element that is very detrimental to any sport, because a photograph looks different than watching it on video. I mean, I like to see both and I like to have both, but it's that ability to think for yourself and see a picture and give it your own rendition and your own caption. And it's pretty difficult these days because it's really hard to find that print media. I mean, like I like looking at ones. I go back through all their old issues and the stuff that B has online, but to me, like the greatest thing that I've seen in the last decade is the Haitian mag. Being able to sit there and read it and look at everything that's in it, and it's almost like photography is not dying, but it's such a critical piece. So you can build your own picture and your own story that it's that puzzle piece that's really missing right now. And that's one of the main reasons we wanted to do Hammer 2 is to try and bring some of that back into it on a more regular release basis, because we're trying to do it once a month. Cool. And like I miss that. I miss looking at something on print and just sitting there skimming through it and just looking at it over and over again.
Yeah,
definitely.
So Hammer's going to be an iPad app.
Yeah, it's going to be it's basically a digital magazine, but it's not just going to be like a flat PDF where it's just an image and you swipe through to the next image. We're going to have embedded videos, and so there's no buffering. Once you download the app and you come to a section that has a play button and you hit the video or the edit, it's in the app. You can scan it to any location in it and fast forward and stuff like that. And so
cool. That
we're
sounds
also
really cool.
Yeah, it's fun because you get to see all three things, and the coolest thing that a lot of people like is you'll come to these images, and it looks like a small frame image on top of a picture in the background, but it's actually a slideshow. We're taking a lot of sequences, so you can basically thumb through it and basically see the shot almost like video, but you're controlling it with your finger. You're swiping through, looking at all the images, and so that was a lot of fun to be able to incorporate something like that because it's a little bit different and new. And so we're basically pulling all these different types of media into one consolidated form, and so that's been pretty exciting.
That's very cool. That's something that, I recently got my first iPad, and I noticed right away that the way that you consume media is really, really sexy, and it allows for kind of the combination of video and magazine and exactly what you're talking about. And it's a very unique experience. And I don't think it's something that's fully been taken advantage of in the rollerblading world. So that's really exciting to hear. So each, you're going to try to do like a monthly issue or something?
Yeah, we're definitely doing a monthly issue, and we're shooting for 100 pages per issue.
Wow!
And we're already shooting for the third issue right now.
Cool.
But the cool thing is, sorry.
I was just going to ask, like, so will you have to pay for each issue? How's that going to work?
Yeah, because in the iTunes store, I mean, we don't really know what that rate's going to be yet. It's going to be really low. It's going to be less than like going to Starbucks and getting a coffee, so a couple of dollars. But the cool thing is nobody's doing this, and the reason that they're not doing this is because it's the programming behind it is pretty technical.
Yeah. And
so you look at the skateboard industry, BMX, scootering, none of these people have it, but we've already been approached by those industries to do this for them.
Wow.
Which we're not going to do. Like, we've been pretty clear about it. Because we're hoping this is one of those things that kind of helps bring people in, and kids, when they see this and they can kind of thumb through stuff and play with it. But
very cool.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Like,
are you involved with someone? Yeah. So are you? So you have a programmer, or is that something you do yourself?
Yeah. So Dave Cordoza and I, we both have programming and software backgrounds. We went out and bought all the books and the kits on how to do it, and spent 6 to 9 months programming, learning how to program.
Yeah. And
so we basically did this from the ground up, just with no experience.
Awesome. I love that idea that, like, it's such a great way to learn, is to, like, use your passion as the motivation and the experience that you need to, like, learn how to do something, whether it's like building a website or building an iPad app. It's like, it makes it more exciting to learn because you have this, like, cool thing that you're working towards. Like, if someone was just like, oh, I want to learn how to make an iPad app, but they didn't have this kind of passion or idea for something, the odds of them, like, getting that proficiency it's less. Like, it's a huge benefit to be passionate about something, whatever it is, whether it's music and to channel that, that drive into learning new skills. That's a beautiful thing. So you guys basically taught yourself how to produce iPad apps, and I know that's hard. There's a lot to that. That's cool.
There is a lot, and we were anticipating that we weren't going to get any of this out until 2013, but we fell so deep into the rabbit hole that we were Skyping at nighttime until like 2 a.m, like, just talking about the code lines and things that we were going to be producing. And we basically had the layout of the magazine before we even started this, so we knew what we wanted it to look like. And so it was really about figuring out, what code lines do we need to produce this thing or this item over here. And so it actually sped it up, because we already knew visually how we wanted it to look and feel. So it was really finding out how to get those pieces of code integrated into the framework to get it all to function.
Right. So did you use like Xcode? Are you using like...
Yeah. It was Xcode, Objective-C, and a little bit of HTML5.
Nice. That's awesome. That's very exciting. So is this... you sound really smart. What do you do for a living?
I'm actually a senior network engineer and an architect, so I design large service provider networks.
Oh,
so, I design small pieces of the internet for really large companies.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, it's not as cool as this, but I'd rather be doing all the skating stuff, but it pays the bills.
Yeah, and it's the way I see it is it's for me it's fun to have a career that, like, I'm learning new things, and then I can use that for things like this, things like that I like to do for rollerblading. Like, it's exciting for me to go into work and I'm not like baking cookies or something where it has no application to this. It's like along the same lines as what I want to be doing for rollerblading, so it's like a double win. It's like I'm getting paid, but I'm also learning these, like, skills. That's exciting to me.
Yeah, that's exactly how we felt too, and that's why it was so easy to get through these last couple of months to basically our release date, which is we're trying to have it dropped somewhere at the end of November this month, but it depends on the Apple approval process, where it might actually bleed over into December a little month, in which case we might end up having 2 issues in the month of December. And so it's Apple controls the world right now. They even control the rate at which your application is released, so that's a little disappointing, but
that's creepy.
All fun at the same time.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Well, this was a really fucking awesome podcast, Jason.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you for taking the time to do it, and wow, just listening to you talk really inspired me, and I'm sure people are really gonna enjoy this one. I'm gonna go skating today. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm actually. When we started talking about that DL picture, Erin Gates is texting me because I'm supposed to go film her and Becky, and so we're going to go over to this really cool high school after this and skate and have a session. But this whole thing just got me that more pumped to go skate.
Cool. Well, yeah, enjoy your day, and let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Joey and Todd. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we lost Joey, but
oh, okay.
Yeah, on behalf of both of us, thank you very much. And, we'll talk soon.
Likewise. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
All right. Take care.
Hello?
Hello? Were you gone?
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, shit. Is Jason gone? What happened?
Yeah.
How do we get him back?
I ended it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was weird. Did you just drop off?
Well, I was getting close to the point where I was going to break up, so I didn't want to wreck the podcast, so I should get into the habit of hanging up around the 50-minute mark, okay. And I need to figure out a way where I can just casually come back on if the person's still talking.
Yeah, I think you could have.
So, yeah, we'll try that for next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
so
really
it's
awesome.
Over? That was really good. There's definitely something in the air,
definitely
between talking to Kevin Yee, that one, the Matt Ledoux one, just some of the stuff that's coming out.
Very exciting.
It's pretty cool. It'll be really interesting to see how this all evolves with everyone doing all this shit, and it's a really positive atmosphere around it.
Yeah, it's coming together. It's very exciting.
It's crazy how passionate these people are, even when they've been out of skating for so long, and they speak from a place of this guy. He's not wanting to make money or anything. He's doing he just wants to give people the feeling. Yeah. So
it's almost more powerful when people go away and they realize how special it is and how fun it is, and they really they understand that from a deep level, having been without it.
Yeah, and because Kevin Yee was saying, he's that's totally a developmental thing. It's part of your development as a human that you're supposed to be away from it.
Yeah.
Because the things that you bring back to it, it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Very cool.
Rollerblading.
Yeah, that got me hyped. I'm gonna go skating.
I don't know what I'm gonna do now, but I have that crazy feeling. Yeah. That awesome crazy feeling. Sweet. Well, yeah. Good podcast. Enjoy skating.
I will.
I'm going to do some editing. Maybe I'll do a roll around the block. I got to finish flip-flops this weekend. I'm so close.
Sweet. That's exciting.
It's turning out really good. A lot better than I thought. But it has a really good kind of old school feel to it.
Yeah.
Because originally I was going to edit it like a tour video and have it longer. But I just figured take the most interesting things and make it really short.
Cool. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of you talked to Dustin?
Yep. Yeah.
Is he gonna give you Imagine Blade Shun?
He said he wants to give it to Leon for Christmas.
Really?
So, yeah. He said in the last message, yeah. And he's coming back to Canada, I think, in the spring.
Cool.
the most interesting thing from him, this is off the record.
Oh, I am still recording.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, this is still... you came back on right when I said goodbye to Jason.
Oh, shit. Well, then just delete that. Well, I can't say it now.
Did you not want to say anything about flip-flops?
Oh, no. You can keep that. You can keep that. It was the thing that I was just about to say.
Oh,
it is top secret.
Okay.
So now, can you stop?
I want to know what it is. Hello?
You can't go on the podcast though.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
That's
Shit.
it. I'll text you then.
Yeah, text it to me.
Okay, cool. It's just interesting.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome podcast.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I'm moving to Kamloops in like 2 weeks.
Oh, shit.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I wish I could have come down to film once more in Vancouver, but I mean, I can go down with you over the next year or whatever. But that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I can't believe that's happening.
We're going to have the indoor.
Oh, yeah, Faction.
I haven't even gone to it, but...
We should go have a really shitty filming session there one time.
Joel said they changed it, and he said it's just lots of quarter pipes, and I was like, that sounds really fun.
That does sound fun.
It's lots of quarter pipes in a tight space. It's just the fact that if it's crowded, we should just pay the money to just do private sessions.
For sure. Yeah, me, you, and Dana. And Joel we should definitely rent it out. Have Dana's a private sesh.
Now,
what's that?
Dana's in town. I might try and skate with him, but
nice.
That's amazing. So, is that sooner than you thought you would come back to Kamloops?
A little bit, I guess. We never were really certain about the timing.
Yeah.
It was just like it was just whenever we sold our place and whenever we found another place to live, and then I was like, I have to find a job, and then I found out that I could work remotely. So everything just came together. It's pretty crazy that it worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know. It's so insane.
Back in Kamloops.
Life is so weird.
It really fucking is.
Fuck.
It is. It has to be a simulation.
Yeah. It's just so weird.
Had a bunch of those moments lately.
Fuck. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing the stand-up workstation.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You'll find yourself one of the best things that you do, because I did that whole podcast standing up.
Wow.
You'll just like move around, and then like I do lots of you'll just engage your core and like do a forward bend.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself naturally moving around, like even while you're typing, you'll be like lifting your feet up back and forth and like moving your hips side to side. It's just like your body naturally wants to move at it.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, go skate. Go have fun.
Yeah, I will.
And I want to try and do more podcasts over the next while. So
yeah, me too.
So if you're listening, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it up big for reals.
Cool. Peace out, Todd.
All right. Peace out, Joey McGarry, Kamloops, British Columbia, Canada.
Peace out, Todd McInerney, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.